How do you think David will be remembered? I think he will be remembered as a great part of the community around here and as a great part of all the families he was a part of. He was just a great inspiration to everybody around him and had such a great energy that made everybody else around him happier.
What wisdom or advice do you think David would want to share with his family and friends? Probably to be just a good person and to have a good sense of humor too. Like that just makes you a better person and radiates good energy to everyone else.
My earliest memory, I think, it's probably when I'd go skiing with him and we would yell down to all the skiers and we would say, "Doesn't it make you feel good?" And we'd yell it so loud so that everybody could hear us.
Well, what wisdom or advice do you think David would want to share with his family and friends? I think one thing is just like if someone insults you, you don't have to take it personally. He always just like if someone insulted him, he said, "Oh yeah, I do that," or something, and he would just like make a joke. And, yeah.
I think he'd want to share his positivity and his ability to just like kind of laugh stuff off and not take anything too seriously and not to really fight with anyone. I haven't seen him fight with anyone at all. So he's just a very positive, kind-hearted person.
How would you describe David to someone who never met him? Well, he was always just a really positive person, and he would be willing to do whatever, and he would always like invite us along. Like when we were in town, he would always want to do stuff with us, and it was really fun. And he would try to like make the best out of our time. And he would always like, even if something went wrong, he would still try to be positive or like make a joke out of it.
He loves them, and that always do what you want to do, not what other people force you to do.
I bet David will be remembered in a great way because everyone knew him as a great guy, a great dad, a great father, a great grandpa, and everyone always appreciated him and loved him. And he will probably be remembered by almost everyone in Midway.
How do you think David will be remembered? I think he'll also be remembered for being kind, funny, lightening up the mood, always like being around for people.
Can you tell me about a memory of when David's kindness made a difference in your life? Me, Grandma, and David were flying out to DC to go to visit them for George's baptism, and we got separated on the flight because we were non-revving, and one of them was in the very back of the plane, and it was like an aisle. It was in the middle seat of the very back of the plane, and then two were together in economy comfort. And of course, he just offered to go in the back.
If David were here giving you advice on how to live a good life, what do you think he would say?
I would say I learned to be, I would stay with you forever because I love him.
Awesome.
The earliest memory of my dad was probably when I was 5, and we lived in Kirkland at the time, and we were in our side yard, and I just remember being with him out there and mowing the lawn with him, rolling around in the freshly cut grass. Oh, and then we went to the backyard and we had a strawberry patch. We picked some strawberries, and we had a tree house and a zip line. And he helped me get on the zip line and zip line down. And that's probably the earliest memory I had.
What wisdom or advice do you think David would want to share with his family and friends? Oh, I would say that my grandpa would want everybody to know that he was a good golfer, and he loved all of his grandkids, no matter how old, how young, how weird they were, including me.
I know I will always remember him as the greatest man. My first love, pretty much. He taught me how to ski. He did everything. He was there for me. Yeah.
There were only like a few times when I was like truly like down being around here. But the few times I was, or the way the world was just too much and my teen angst was too awful, he kind of took it as a personal challenge to try to cheer me up. And when all else would fail, he would just try to find different iterations of the same joke over and over again, which ultimately did succeed. And to have someone like who chose, like it was very much like I'm choosing to help you right now. I'm not obligated to, but I'm choosing to. And that was really beneficial for me. And I'm sure like every other person he would do that for. Like he just so full of kindness and just like patience for everyone.
What's your earliest memory of David? Are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually was thinking, I don't remember meeting him when they first started dating, like within the first couple of weeks. But I remember meeting him, thinking he was nice, but like a little on guard because he was moving stuff in 6 weeks after they first went on a date, like back to U-Haul up to the house. But we lucked out. I mean, mom and us.
I think David is going to be remembered as being a people person and someone who was easy to be around and someone who taught us about happiness and how to live a good, happy life.
David always looked sharp, dressed sharp, and acted sharp. I learned that we project ourselves by how we act, how we interact with people, and I think Dave exemplified how to carry yourself among friends, among people you're meeting for the first time, associates at work. You just treated everybody like they were your best friend.
What about David makes you smile? I can't think of David without smiling. He really brought so much joy and happiness to me and to my family. I mean, multi-generational. My mother loved him. My sisters loved him. My nephews and nieces knew David and loved him. He always enjoyed doing a little teasing, but again, never in a mean or a hurtful way.
One more memory I want to connect to that is I remember before he even met Aunt Hilma, my Hilma was I had lived in Salt Lake. I had just moved to Salt Lake. Aunt Mandy had just passed away and he was single and he was living in an apartment by himself and I was living by myself, living with my buddy at the time. And he called me on my birthday and said, "Hey, can I take you out to a burrito place?" And we just sat at a burrito place and we talked. He asked me about some gals I was going out with and I was going out with nobody and didn't have anybody to talk about. And I asked him the same thing. And I don't know, it meant a lot to have like an uncle who was so close, similar to my dad, check on me and make sure I was okay.
I think David was a really great example of enjoying every moment and just finding the joy in every moment. And that to me, I've learned that from Crosby too. And it's been a real gift for me because I tend to live in the future or the past. Most of the time, if you're living in the present, things are pretty good. So I think David was a great example of just like appreciating the joy in the present moment.
What wisdom or advice do you think David would want to share with his family and friends?
I think he would be happy, be kind, and
make someone's day better. I have one of the best memories I have of Uncle Dave is he would call me every year on my birthday. He was like, always, I knew he would call. And when he would tell me that, I knew he said this to everyone else. Oh, my favorite nephew, it's your birthday. And he called me every year on February 8th, but I never had the heart to tell him my birthday is actually on February 9th. So, but he would call religiously a day before my birthday.
Can you tell me about a memory of when David's kindness made a difference in your life? My son has mental health problems, and I was a single mother, and his health problems were so acute that I was overwhelmed. And he probably should have been in a temporary psychiatric ward at Children's Hospital, but I could not handle that. So I called up David and I said, "Hi, Dave, what are you doing?" And he said, "It's a bluebird day. I'm on the chairlift." And I said to him, probably in this quivering voice that I have right now, I said, "David, Ben's really sick, and I'm wondering if you could come help us." And he said, "I'll get off the chairlift and I'll be there first thing in the morning." And then he stayed at our house for several months to help me care for my son.
Can you tell me about a memory of when David's kindness made a difference in your life? When he came to help my mom with my brother, I was probably like 11, and it wasn't very like a fun time. And he took a day to sorry. He took a day to take me downtown Seattle, and we went shopping, and we went to McDonald's. We went to a really expensive pen store and wrote with all the expensive pens and asked to write with the most expensive one. And then we rode the monorail, and we wrote down on a napkin at McDonald's everything we did that day. And I always saved that. It was very special because we were having such a hard time, and he just like and we watched Camelot that night. Yeah, and stayed up really late. It was like so fun.
Words of wisdom and advice. There's a lot of funny things he'd say for sure, but he always taught me that nothing was such a big deal. He always, even if when he didn't say that you just his example was that it's not a big deal, and to love everybody and be kind to everybody. I've learned that a lot from David.
What wisdom and advice? Follow your heart. Don't ever give up, and put family first before anything.
As an avid golfer, he would go golf by himself or anyone that he could find to go hit the ball with him. In his younger years, he played basketball, and he always played center, and he wasn't that tall, but he used his body very effectively and would make me very mad the way he would clear me out of the paint. But I think he'll just be remembered as being just one of a kind type of guy.
What wisdom or advice do you think Dad would want to share with his family and friends?
I think that's easy. I think loving others, taking care of others, always having a positive attitude. I can't remember a time where he seemed down or depressed or didn't know how to handle something. He would always have a positive attitude. And anytime he complained, he had a solution. He would, if he complained, it wasn't just to complain, but it was to figure something out. And I think those are the biggest things that he would want us to remember and to live on, is to treat other people like he did, and service oriented, and just making people happy and comfortable and laughing. And it doesn't matter who they are. They could be elderly, they could be a child, they could be somebody with special needs. Whoever that person was, they felt super special around him, and he made him feel that way.
How do you think David will be remembered? As a good father, a loving husband, and a disciple of Jesus Christ.
How do you think David will be remembered? Always. He'll make us all happy. My children, I could probably speak on the rest of those kids, but the fact is, it's David. He's the favorite. That's reality.
Yeah.
I love all my siblings. I have the best siblings. I don't even think I've even, I can't remember any fights with my siblings. They probably remember them, but I don't remember them. But David will always be remembered as David. He made sure right down to birthdays, he called every one of us in the family on their birthday.
Yeah.
No matter where that led to. Mm-hmm. I can't only imagine the list, how large it got, but he did that.
Yeah.
So that's what he'll be remembered for.
My brother was saying he remembered their wedding anniversary when they forgot.
That was David. Yeah. So that guy is, when we look at it, he's had a lot of blessings in his life, that guy.
Yeah.
And so I think he's happy right now too. And I think the rest of us are sad at the moment, but all be well.
What about David makes me smile? Well, his jokes make me smile. Just he was just the best, I think the best husband anybody could have. He was neat and clean and kept himself nice and picked up after himself. He cleaned the house better than I did. I think his mother was good at teaching him that. And he would tell me every day that he loved me. He'd tell me I was pretty. He'd tell me how thankful he was for me. Favorite memory of David. Gee, it's kind of hard to think. And they might be some of the very last memories I had, because it's difficult as it was for him to talk. He would want me to give him a hug and a kiss, and some days he could only mouth that I love you. And he was concerned to the very end that I would be okay, and concerned about everybody. And even the hospice nurse said sometimes they hang on because they worry about people. And so we were able to have grandkids and his kids, and everybody came to say goodbye and to tell him that they would be okay. And then the other really kindness that he did, I was with him 2 days and a night, and going into the next day, he was, medicated heavily, and his breathing was shallow. and Star was there. I called Star to stay with him while I could come home and get a shower. But the hospice nurse said the best thing for you to do would be to leave because he most likely doesn't want you here when he takes his last breath. And so I came home. I just got in the tub when Calder walked in and told me that he had passed. And I'm sure that was his way of just, again, just being kind and caring for me. What were your first impressions of David and how did they change over time? Well, I already talked about what I thought when I first saw him, and they just got better and better. I know that one time, I don't know if it was you, Trav, or Calder, said, well, have you learned anything about David now that you're married to him? Because that often happens because we're really on our best behavior when we're courting. And then when we get married, we go back into some negative behaviors. But it just, he was better than I even thought when I first saw him. And over time, my admiration for him just grew and just couldn't have been with a better man.